now. So you can't punish me for what that person did last week, because I'm now gender fluid. I'm now a woman. We would have had such fun.
You're funny, man. You're funny. But coming to that, one thing I've noticed, Adrian McQueen, is that now we got the athletics board, swimming and running, who are in uproar because the swimmers came out clearly and say that these are not women. These are not women. They cannot compete with women. But you know what's interesting? I'm waiting for the church to make that stand, but I'm hearing it from the swimmers. And then on top of that, now remember the South African young lady that was born with the extra hormones and all this kind of stuff, who they banned from participating, but she was born a woman.
Semenya.
Yeah, she was born a woman. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, they are making blanket statements saying that these people are really men. That's what the law is saying. These folk are really men, and the reality is that they cannot compete as women. Go ahead, Shaun.
No, I'm saying it's funny though. In the MMA, in the mixed martial arts, the woman did beat the guy that was said he was a woman. She won clearly. She beat him clearly. And we were laughing when we saw it. We said, "Yeah, man, that's a good takedown."
There is. We're not talking about the exception. We're talking about the rule. Okay, good.
But they can't complain, really. You know, there's an old pro this, pro that, pro the other. So men who aren't good enough to compete in the men's thing, they change their sex and they get gold. Yeah. They get medals in the other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we had all these awful things in prisons. They put a man, he changed his sex, so they put him in a female prison. So he's raping and impregnating women in the prison. I mean, you make your bed.
Yeah, lie down.
And then there's females who said they're men who've gone to the male prisons.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing.
Same thing happened.
Wow.
Making big money in
the London Independent.
Ooh, you make your bed. Pun intended.
It is going to backfire, because at the moment there are women in this country. Hampton Heath Park has a section where women can bathe naked. Yeah, that's for them.
Okay.
Yeah, this big hardback man saying, "I feel like a woman," and the women are literally going up in arms. Because I never thought feminism would be attacking that system, but they're realizing it's penetrating their environment now. And I've been telling people for years, I said it's going to backfire.
But you know what, Adrian, what I heard this week, man, and I don't know if you guys heard it, there was a woman, she's married to another woman, but she is not aligning herself with LGBTQI because she feels that it's a political movement. It is not about love and all the rest of it, and it is a gender seeking. So whoever is in power is yielding to it because of the power that it has. And I didn't realize that. I just assumed, and this is my strange assumption, that everyone that was involved in same-sex situations were part of this community.
No, because Martina Navratilova, who's a lesbian, she speaks against the LGBT. Even though she's a lesbian, she spoke and they shut her down. So even when you're in there, and you see things, they'll shut you down, even though you're in there.
Right. Wow.
So,
The agenda is so powerful, and I mean, I've got at home, as soon as I saw it, I went out and bought it. It's called, it's got a rainbow on the front of it and everything. It's called the Queen James Bible. I thought,
what?
My goodness, the Queen James Bible. So I mean, the pun is on King James, Queen James. Yeah. And I thought, because so what you're
seeing how far it's going.
All the verses that that deal with homosexuality, they've seen how they can ameliorate or change these verses. And I thought, the first thing I thought to myself when I held the book in front of this thing in front of me, I thought, do you think they would even have do you think they would make a Quran like that? Would they dare? Is this some kind of comment on how Christianity is viewed as a kind of pushover? The target on Christianity, I mean, there's this woman called Jane Uzain. She's an LGBT Christian. That's an oxymoron. I don't know, but anyway, she has now invented a term called not hate speech, but hate prayer. So you can't even, pray about, someone comes into church, and we've had this in a church that I know. One Sabbath morning, a person came into the church. It seemed like a man dressed in female clothes on a Sabbath morning and sat down in the church. And then he said, he said, "Excuse me, I'd like to go to the toilet." Big 6 foot strapping fella. "I'd like to go to the toilet." And straight away there was a problem. What are we going to do? Send him to the male toilet. You can't send him to the male toilet because he's a woman. No, he's not a woman. He's a man. Send him to the man's toilet. No, you can't send him to the man's toilet dressed like a woman. Send him to the disabled toilet. Well, he's not disabled. And there was absolute chaos just for a few moments. And the fear that we have, and we now feel that we can't say anything or comment.
I'm tired.
Not me.
Adrian said, "Not me."
What's interesting is that though Adrian's saying it's been going on for quite a long while. So there's a man called Gene Robinson. He was an Anglican bishop, and the reason why the LGBT community has been more bold is because of those Anglicans.
Yes,
the churches have been one of the first
100%
to come out supporting gay rights. And that has given the opening for the rest of the world. If the church made a stand, the LGBT would be very, very reluctant to come out because they know there's only one community,
right,
and one race of people who make a stand against that behavioural practice.
Yeah,
and they know if they can shut those two things down to be successful. So at the moment, I'm realising that all the people who seem to be coming out boldly for LGBT are black people. The voice, the representative of the White House, the new Doctor Who, the new drag queen in EastEnders, Kelly Holmes, the athlete. I'm like, why are they pushing black people? Because they realise if there's one community, I'm not saying that the others have been endorsing it, because technically in history most communities have never really been gay friendly,
right?
But they do know if there's one ethnic group who does not play when it comes to that behaviour as black people. And Christians. And if you can shut them two people down, you're going to spring forward. And I see what they're doing. It's done so cleverly.
But they've ridden on the back of the black civil rights movement. And what they've done, they've garnered the sympathy of the society. And this hasn't been done by chance. I mean, I'm old enough to remember Jeremy Thorpe, MP. Liberal Democrats guy, and he was going to be the great next, possibly the Prime Minister and everything. And then they let out this story of a homosexual relationship with a chap called Jeffrey Scott, I think his name was. I'm talking about late 60s, early 70s. And Jeremy Thorpe's career crashed. It went down because of the society then. Now look, you got Philip Schofield comes on the telly and outs himself in tears, and the whole society rejoices, and we all put our collective arm around him. This thing hasn't been done by chance. There's a book by let me think. It's called After the Ball. And it's a book by Hunter Madsen and Marshall Kirk. This book is about.
Have you read it?
I got the. Now the interesting thing.
In two of my studies.
That book, right? That book is about. It's a small book. It's no bigger than, I don't know, if you can picture in your mind, if you've read, I don't know, To Kill a Mockingbird. It's an average size of a novel or anything like that. I first of all tried to get that book online. It's difficult.
It's difficult.
£300. I saw one. I went on eBay and I thought, £200. The cheapest one I found was £900. £95. So I had to get an online version because it was so expensive. But what is that telling you? That's telling you that it is not for general popular consumption. Because I nearly was going to pay the £95 for it. Then I found I could get it. What do you call them? PDF version of the thing. And this book is about the agenda to overhaul straight America. by riding on things like this, using civil rights movement as a Trojan
100%.
horse, just like you black people fighting for your rights, we're fighting for our rights. They got more power than us now. You just have to say something, anything now. They shut you down and everything. They're so powerful.
When you read the book, it literally outlines their agenda.
Really?
And they said they're going to use the media it's a method called jamming, where they're going to constantly put the images on our face so that we're desensitized. But just adding on to what Adrian said, what's very sad is that when the Black Panthers started, they started to work with the gay community at the same time. So Huey Newton and Angela Davis were very pro-gay.
Right.
So
Angela Davis was?
Well, she's a lesbian. Yeah. So they've studied the black movement and have aligned themselves with the black movement, and it says we're going to ride upon that.
Yeah.
Blacks still suffering.
Blacks would always
the
suffer.
LGBT will go forward.
Yeah, will grow.
So they've always learned do that, and then eventually break us down. 'Cause I remember my friend was telling me in Jamaica, he said, you don't really hear these artists speaking out against it anymore. They shut them down slowly.
Buju Banton, Beanie Man, and Shavarangs, all these were making songs, strong songs, and some of the music industry said that if you don't shut your mouth on this, we'll make sure that your career is finished. You don't hear that anymore because
there's only one who's outspoken. That's Sizzler.
Yeah,
he don't care nothing. But the rest of them, they want fame, careers. So. But we're not saying that we necessarily agree with their lyrical content. We're dealing with an object lesson. Is that there's a lobby, and that lobby is making sure they're doing everything to shut people down.
Yeah, but you think of this, right? You've got governments around the world, like under the Obama administration. He went down to Africa, and he says, "Listen, if you don't accept this thing, we may have to sanction you." So
they say good.
Yeah, so you can understand. You're coming from the UN, coming down on all these other groups, and all these groups are pushing the same agenda. And these agendas are spreading out, whether it's the climate bill, whether it's the thingy bomb they did the other day. Everything's spreading out.
Well, it seems to me like I don't want to go off piste too much, but I mean, so Obama went down there and everything. In all of these things, I see. And I think Pastor Ray hinted at it before. Black people at the forefront of if an awkward thing has to be done. What do you have? You had Judge Clarence Thomas was the one who wrote the bill for the guns after these terrible gun shootings in America with these 18-year-olds killing up loads of people. He wrote this gun thing for New York, for the state of New York, so that you don't have to have a written warrant now to carry a gun in the public domain, where you could only have it in the private place. You had Candace Owen. Just a few days after George Floyd's killing, she gone on there doing a YouTube thing saying that George Floyd was a bad man and everything. She didn't even have the emotional intelligence and empathy to understand that this wasn't even about George Floyd. There's a family grieving here. This was about how police treat black people. But she went up there, and guess what? She's a Republican, right-hand man of Trump. Then you had, at the beginning of last year, you had Tony Sewell at the beginning of the year. Boris Johnson had this statement to say there's no such thing in the UK as institutional racism. And it hit the country. There was such outrage. I mean, you're dealing with the war. You got Ukraine. You got time to write a thing like this? And guess who headed that? Tony Sewell, a black man. And then, whether you're talking about Jesus Christ Superstar, the film or the stage show, you got white, Caucasian Jesus, Caucasian disciples, Caucasian people in that area that don't even represent the demographic of the area, and the only black person, Judas. Played by Carl Anderson.
Judas.
So it seems to me, from Obama going through all these, Carl Anderson, whenever there's awkward work to do, it just reminds me of the slave days that they used to get the slave to flog the slave, and they put up these black people in awkward situations to try to change the society when black people stand up for stuff.
I just got a comment, Shaun, before you come in on Facebook. A mother here said, took my kids to the cinema the other day, and 15 minutes into the animated movie, one of the leads, a black character, married her girlfriend.
Buzz Lightyear, yeah.
And then she goes on to say, then they went on to have kids and grandkids. Not sure how. But this is in the animated movie.
Same principle.
So what we're saying is that they
use the microphone.
Sorry, brother.
No. Remember, Disney just came out the other day, yeah, how they were pushing that agenda hard.
Yeah.
And it was the black woman there. She said, I just put everything in there, and we just were doing it. And she was pushing it hard. And what I want to say about Candace Owens is a real politician, because she's come flew across the other side for people who were forced to get into mandates, and she's saying this is wrong. Certain companies, whether it be Moderna, etc., she's saying it's wrong. So she's just a person who's very political. She's looking for fame.
Yeah,
right. That's all it is.
So she jumped aside. She jumped aside,
and everybody's loving her right now. Yeah. And they're saying, I can't believe that Candace Owens did it like a 360-degree turn. She's just for the money and everything else.
Opportunity. What's interesting is that they don't realise that they're being used for a bigger program.
Yes.
So all these things which are being used is to basically violate everybody else's human rights.
Yeah.
And these because black people have known that they've been down from far, they take any opportunity to be accepted.
Yes.
So as soon as you put them out there, they can't wait, but they don't realise they're being used. And when they're being used, it's to not just violate our rights, it's to violate everybody's rights. And I realised they're using them a lot. From when I saw that woman be the spokesman for the White House, I said, well, there it goes.
Yeah. But I was going to make this comment, though. What I've noticed, living in America and everything, because the black church in America is the biggest organization that black people have, that same agenda is being pushed. I was listening to a particular preacher last night, and they were so excited that Bush and all these folk were coming to their church. And so the question was asked, why are they coming? You know, it's not election time, it's not whatever. And so the idea was so that we could pray for our nation. Since when did you need a prime minister or president to come to a church to pray for our nation?
It's the same in Adventism. Remember when Bush praised us?
Yeah, I remember.
Remember when Hillary praised us?
Hillary did it, yeah.
I remember Hillary, right, she praised Margaret Sanger.
Yeah.
Margaret Sanger hated us.
You know that.
Yeah, and anyway, I better not say this.
All right. Stick a pin.
Just one thing. Even when you think of this huge movement, now I'm a believer in the principle that Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
But the actual organisation is a different thing. Funded by George Soros, which is a whole new story. But the three founders are all lesbians, and even you got Maya Angelou, who swings both sides and everything. And so, as Adrian was saying, you know, if you can get black people up there at the front pushing that, because black people have been the ones historically have been most difficult to shift. And I think in Obama's time, countries in the Caribbean and elsewhere were threatened with economic sanctions if they didn't change their laws to be pro-gay and everything. And now, as I'm talking here in this situation, I'm listening to myself and thinking, my goodness, am I now a hater because I'm speaking about these things?
Well, let me just say this, and this is what's important, is that we need to raise awareness, and I think that's what we're doing here. There's no hatred for a person. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a system. We're talking about an agenda which mirrors and lines up with the prophetic movement if we study and preach prophecy correctly. If we just do it the way we're doing it, then of course we're going to think that, man, these four men on the radio, you know what I mean, they wrong.
No, I think the problem that we really have is that there's votes on the from General Conference. These votes go down. There's I ain't gonna call the different unions of things, but there's certain unions of things that say no, we're not going with the vote. And this is why you've got abortions, you've got certain things that happen. The Muslims will speak out more than us.
Yeah.
It's because there is a weakness in leadership.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to say this: is COVID came.
Yeah.
The majority of guys ran off. The
Yeah.
guys who are the foot soldiers ran off.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want to really discuss that,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying they ran off. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the best time when COVID was around. It was the best time to be doing witnessing.
It is, man. Best witnessing and dropping the health message.
And furthermore, when we talk about the health message now, remember, we were people that were pushing natural remedies. And don't get me wrong, if you got sick, and you needed to take a pharmaceutical drug, you took it.
You take it.
There's life.
That's right.
But the church and the whole, who are the main men, who are the front men, they're telling you, don't go that way, right? The way the church was set up in the beginning, don't go that way, you go this way. With these companies that have been taken to court, for over court, and for the very same people that we're talking about, they're the ones who